In this video, I'm going to show you how salvage works in 3.18. I'm recording this video on the PTU, however, I think the live version should be out really soon. So the first thing you want to do is you get a vulture, if you have one. In the PTU, every player has access to it. And the easiest way to find salvageable ships is to fly to a Lagrange point and then scan for pre-placed shipwrecks. You can also find dead player shipwrecks or dead AI shipwrecks. However, the easiest to find are those at Lagrange points. I'm here near Arcorp Arm and I'm flying to Arc L1. Okay, now we've arrived at the Lagrange point. And the first thing you want to do is you press Tab for a scan. And shipwrecks have these icons, which is, one should be over here. Those are shipwrecks in close proximity. Let's approach the wreck. Now I'm flying in decoupled mode. So I'm not going full speed because I want to be able to slow down quickly when I'm approaching the wreck. So there's no distance indicator towards the wreck on the icon. Does targeting work? You can actually target it 1 kilometer, 890 jump. Okay, I'm slowing down. Now, salvage works within a distance of 150 meters of the target. Okay, so now you want to approach it and slow it down. You can also use right alt and mouse wheel to lower the thruster power of your ship. Then all the controls are much slower. And you can just tap your thrust. You have more precise control over how you fly close to a wreck. Okay, so now about salvage. There's a simple way to do it and a more intricate way to do it. Let's start with the simple one. So the first thing you want to do is you press M, then the ship enters salvage mode. I'm holding X to slow the ship down to 0. Okay, now the most straightforward mode is to just press M as I just pressed. And then if you press left mouse, both salvage beams start, and you basically paint over the surface of the ship, and it extracts material. Okay, the next thing you can do, instead of rotating your whole ship with beams, you can press G. Now it switches to gimbal mode, which means you actually controlling the beams while the ship remains stationary. If you look at this part of the screen, this shows you for each beam what you're exactly aiming at and how much material is left, which means here on this one is 27% left, and then it's completely burned through. Now here you see the left beam. It has two different types of beams you can switch out. I'm sure this is hard to read over here. You have properties, diameter, that's the diameter of the beam, 3.5 meters. Speed is how fast it burns through. And efficiency, not exactly sure what that does, but I think it's how much of the material in percent you actually get out and how much is wasted, which means 0.76 means 76%, which means 24% of what you're beaming is, I think, evaporated or wasted. And this here is the distance to the target, 47 out of 150 meters. And you have the same for the right beam over here. And up here on the screen you have cargo. That's the internal storage of the current, of the salvage storage in the ship. Not the complete cargo space, just the internal thing that holds the salvage. And when that is full, it will extract the box out of the machine in the cargo hold, then it will fill up the next one. And when both of them are full, you have to go down to the cargo grid or have somebody do it to move the box out of the way of the entrance of the machine, so the next one can get extracted. Basically, the thing is clogged up after 2 full boxes. And this is how much wiggle fun in total is left on the ship. And this is the extraction rate, how fast it extracts, and what else is there? Now there's some sophisticated options which are in here, and I'll explain that in a moment. You can also switch using right mouse. You can switch the heads over to different ones, and you have 2 of them pre-installed. And I think those are the only 2 types for each ship that are currently in the PTO. Now the first one, as we see, is 1 meter 50, speed 0.6, and 85% efficiency. And the second one is 3 meters and 50, which is, it's a wider beam and slower. Okay, so now let's look at the more sophisticated options here, which is this area. Okay, so what are these things for? So as you're looking around over here, if you hold left Alt and you mouse wheel, notice what's happening over here in this area of the screen. So it starts up here, and as you mouse wheel down, it goes all the way up to this point. I'm going to move the ship a bit more so you can see it against the backlight what the beams are actually doing. Okay, ship. Okay, also pay attention that this icon left right here is highlighted. As you can see, as I'm beaming up and down, notice the convergence of the beams is changing. If the convergence is all the way outside, then those beams are perfectly parallel, which means they're not converging at all. I'll show you in the external view. See, they're perfectly parallel to each other. Now, I'm switching them on. Now see if as I'm converging them to the interior point, and now they're converging to the same point. Now what's important here, that M over here doesn't mean meters. Not exactly sure what that M means. However, it doesn't mean something in meters, because this here means they're converging on the same point at the thing you're actually aiming at. Okay, so they're not converging behind the ship, behind some imaginary point. The game auto-detects what your ship is pointing at. Now, notice those things will slightly move as I'm moving the ship across the hull. It's barely visible because they detect the probably a trace line to the point you're looking at, and the beams will adjust to conversion at point exactly if that is set to 0. What you also can do is you can hold left Alt and press right mouse. Notice here, now you're in vertical convergence mode. What's happening if you now hold left Alt and mouse wheel? Notice now the convergence is vertical. Yeah? That's an up-down convergence. Now I'm going to go back into the center, and you're back to the central convergence. Now the main purpose of that appears to be that if you have the conversion at the same point, you're obviously burning through the thing twice as fast as you would normally do, because both beams are looking at the exact same point. However, if you space the points further apart, I'm going to switch to horizontal. Notice here. Both beams have 3.5 meters diameter, which means if you time it correctly, then you get, depending what you want, if you want one thick horizontal area that you want to burn through, that's connected like this. I'll switch to gimbal mode, and this is basically how I do it. I'm going to fill up one tank, and show you what's happening in the cargo bay after that. Nudging the ship to like this. And this is why I earlier lowered the thruster power, so you can gently just float across the ship like this. You see here that now that box is full. I'm actually not sure if the cargo bay is blocked or not. Because as you noticed, I can still scrape the hull, however the cargo doesn't change. Which means if something's full in the back area, you can still play the minigame here, however you're not getting any material into your boxes.